Welcome to the latest edition of Dolphins In Depth, the podcast provided to you by the Miami Herald. We are 3 weeks away from the NFL draft, from the NFL going grocery shopping for the new, younger, cheaper players. The Miami Dolphins, they've got 10 selections that are going to help them supplement and improve their roster. It's absolutely necessary because the foundations are not formidable. And joining me is Isaiah Smalls, who is coming from his Palm Beach stay at the NFL owners meeting. Obviously, Isaiah, I warned you about the NFL owners meeting. There will be no place in your life that will make you feel poorer. What is your impression of the? We stole some ice cream from the kiddie room during the party. Ice cream was busted, by the way.
It was, yeah, that was good.
What are your impressions of your first NFL owners meeting?
I mean, I got to get my money up, not my funny up, because that's crazy. I don't know. I mean, it was just a really interesting environment. It being at the Breakers and a thing built by, Henry Flagg, who I have my own issues with. But we're talking about sports, right? So sports, let's keep it on sports. But no, it was cool. I think, just to be able to see. It really takes that veil, peels that veil back, right? Like I know, obviously, as reporters, we cover these guys day in day out, and so we know that they are human beings, right? But for the team that you don't cover, right? Like you get to kind of see that, that layer be peeled back, right? You get to see, XYZ coach with his wife, you get to see XYZ GM with his kids, right? It humanizes people, right? And I think that more than anything is the best part about it, right? Just seeing these men, right? Because not a lot of women in that room, right?
I think there are way more women in that room now than there were a decade ago, and there is a huge influx of women in power, women in position.
I hope so. I want that to be the case.
I was actually looking forward to part of my disappointment about the owners meeting, and I'm going to go back years when I first started covering the NFL. My first year was my first owners meeting was 2008, and that just so happened to be the first owners meeting for Steve Ross, and he was there, wide-eyed, just in a glow because he'd never been there. Understand, when you're an NFL owner or a sports owner, it is you join. If you're a billionaire, there's only really one elite club that you have to country club that you could be part of, and that's sports ownership. And the NFL owners meeting is, the annual meeting of this elite country club. Your kids are there, your family's there, and to be quite frankly, I was disappointed. I haven't gotten the opportunity to meet Steve Ross's daughters. They are going to inherit the team. I've never met them. Don't know what they look like. Wouldn't know if they were standing in front of me. And so you get to learn the people, learn what they're like, and that's the one thing that I regret about the last couple of years here with the Dolphins, because they've been under so much heat and Ross has been under so much heat. He's gone in hiding, and it's a very uncomfortable place for me because everybody spent the last 10 years getting to know him and getting to know what he was and how he was driven and what motivated him. He used to sit down with us for 30 minutes at the NFL owners meeting and lay out the agenda, give us his perspective, talk about future plans and things of that nature. And we haven't had that sit down in he used to do a beginning of the year owners press conference to do the same. He wasn't hiding. And unfortunately, because of the team's success, comes to the team struggles, we haven't seen Ross, I haven't heard from Ross in years. And that's a little bit disappointing, but I understand where everything is.
It's crazy because all the other reporters get to have that one-on-one time with the owner, right? I just so happened to catch the Jets reporters talking to Woody Johnson, right? Mm-hmm. I was working in the corner, and it was funny because Woody asked them a question. Woody was like, "What do you think I should improve with the what's it called?
Media relations."
Yeah, the press box. He was usually talking about the press box. Like, improve, and I was like, "Oh wow!" Like that's just to have that candid conversation is good because, one, like, it's rare that you get FaceTime with a billionaire, right? But it's even more rare that people that look like us get FaceTime with billionaires, right? So just to be able to just pick their brain and, share some keys back to the community, that's the always thing I like to do. But unfortunately, we didn't get to do that. So, here's my public plea to Mr. Ross, get us right in 2026. Salute.
Yeah. But you did get a lot of time to spend with Mike McDaniel. You see that Mike is very social creature.
Yeah.
Social as the one thing I'll say about Mike McDaniel, exactly who they said he was before he got here is exactly who he is, and he remains that person. I think he said two things in his media sessions, and I want you to talk a little bit about what your take was. But let me get to the two takes that I got from his media session. He said the same people that were praising me when I was winning are the same people crushing me, basically now. And I haven't changed one bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say that's true. He hasn't changed. He hasn't changed. Mm-hmm. He just didn't have a full arsenal of equipment. And then also, he asked a question when we were talking about the hot seat, and yeah, I got very critical of him, and you disagreed with me.
Yeah, you didn't like it. I like the quote, but go ahead, keep going.
You disagree with me because you are an Eagles fan, and I, from a outward perspective, I'm not an Eagles fan, but I'm thinking to myself, Nick Sirianni on the hot seat, that just sounds crazy. This guy's the fourth winningest coach in NFL history, winning percentage-wise. He's taken a team to the Super Bowl, but this is before last year. Yeah, he had a little bit of adversity, but you educated me that this had more to do with his relationship with Jalen Hurts, more so than his coaching.
Say the quote that McDaniel said, so you haven't said it yet.
I want to be on the hot seat. I want to be on the Nick Sirianni hot seat. And I just didn't find that funny at all. Because you have not even come close to the stratosphere of what Nick Sirianni accomplished. And your team is nowhere close to the neighborhood of where the Eagles are in terms of how they're built. And your take on this is what?
I mean, I understood what he meant because, for someone that engages with the Philadelphia media, if you don't know, the Philadelphia media is low-key insane. Like, they're extremely critical of players, coaches, down to the fans too sometimes. Not really, actually. It's just really players and coaches, right? So they're just extremely critical, right? Their bar is very, very high, right? And so, last 2 years ago, right, 2023, when the Eagles, season kind of imploded the year after the Super Bowl, right? There was some rifts with him and Jalen Hurts, with Sirianni and Jalen Hurts. And so, he definitely entered the 2024 season on the hot seat just based off that alone. Because obviously, if your coach and your star quarterback aren't getting along, it's easy to find another coach. Not that easy to find another star quarterback, right? So he was on the hot seat. And whether that pressure was internal, I don't know. I'm not privy to that. But externally, for sure. I just know the conversations that my friends from back home, have with me, right? And they're like, nah, we got to get him up out of here. Now we got to get up. And it made sense, right? Like, the team imploded in 2023, right? And so for that to happen, right?
Keep in mind, a 10-1 team imploded.
Yeah. I mean, just because the bar is a lot higher in Philadelphia than it is in Miami doesn't mean that it's like that,
I mean, y'all did fire Andy Reid, so hey.
Fired Andy Reid, fired Doug Peterson after he won the Super Bowl. Like, it doesn't matter in Philly. It doesn't, like, it's like, what have you done for me lately, right? So I say all that to say, like, when McDaniel employed that quote saying, like, look, I'm going to be on the Sirianni hot seat, I understood what he meant. Basically, he wants the hot seat to be, hey, I'm winning, right? Now, the fans might not necessarily like what I'm doing, but I'm winning, right? And that's at the end of the day what matters. I mean, of course, we've had conversation. It's about the money that matters first. But for him, I mean, winning matters, at least right now, right? So we can keep getting more of the money. So that was one hand of it. And then the other, jog my memory again on the first thing you mentioned. That
I talked about the him saying that, if I had gotten to 10 wins, would this be different? Would this be perceived different? And I will argue to you, Indianapolis, they could have easily won that game. Buffalo, they could have easily won that game. Arizona, they could have easily won that game. The Jets, when at the second half of the season, final game of the season, Tua's playing, more than likely you could win that game, even though Aaron Rodgers be hot when he's playing Miami Dolphins.
Okay, but like let's put that asterisk there, because like you said, if Tua was playing, right?
Yeah, okay.
Playing, right? The Indianapolis Colts game, if Tua was playing, right? The Cardinals game, and I think there's an asterisk there too.
He was playing.
Yes, but that was his first game back. It's a little bit rusty. He's not as sharp.
And that game was on the defense, not Tua.
Exactly. So I think, at the end of the day, like, we have to have a real conversation about Tua's availability, right? We have to keep that in the perfect context, right? Now, Tua, when he plays, he's solid, right? He's very solid, but I think the evidence is shown. It's nothing against him personally. It's just like the evidence is shown that more often than not, he will not be playing. He will miss games, excuse me. More often than not, he will miss games. And that's the reality of the situation that the Dolphins find themselves in. And it's unfortunate, but I think we have to get away from this. This mindset was like, well, if Tua was playing, well, he wasn't.
I didn't say Tua was playing.
This is the first time we've had that conversation, too.
I didn't say I think there's a number of ways they could have gotten to 10 wins. If Raheem Mostert doesn't fumble against Indianapolis, I think they could have easily been at 10 wins. Now, the problem that I have with it, and I wrote this in a Miami Herald column that's up online now and is in the papers on Sunday. Even if they had gotten to 10-7, even if they had taken Baltimore or Pittsburgh's spot in the playoffs, playing the Baltimore Ravens, playing the Buffalo Bills, they still would have got waxed.
I agree with you. I 110% agree with you. That's why I personally don't think that the conversation would have been that much different if they would have gotten the 10 wins, right? I think them being at they were 8-9. I think the 8-9 was just it shed some more light on it, right? Because it's like, oh crap, this isn't going nearly as well as we thought it was. But also, if we got the 10 wins, the result would have been the same. They just would have been playing one more week, Absolutely.
And this is my problem, and it leads us to this discussion that we will continue to have for the next 3 weeks, especially with Calais Campbell leaving and signing a $5.5 million base up to $7.5 million contract with the Arizona Cardinals, which are not a contender. I thought if he left, it was going to be for a contender, but then to go and find out that they had the third highest offer on the table. That's not really encouraging becoming
the third highest offer.
Miami Dolphins had the third highest contract on the table.
That's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah. Not only is there a huge void of leadership loss with Calais Campbell, and I think it's not just Calais, because the expectation is that Terron Armstead is going to be retiring. And those are two massively big leaders that are lost. And yes, I think Zach Seler spent a year learning how to lead from Calais Campbell, as did others. Mm-hmm. And that's going to be the next step of his career, especially once his contract is addressed. Because
that man, that money.
yeah. That man need that money. $8.5 million for back-to-back 10-sack seasons is a little, a little disrespectful.
I think it's a lot, but
yeah. But let's put that over there. But the trenches, not even just the absence of Calais Campbell, not only the absence of Terron Armstead, the trenches are so soft and so unsolidified. I would make the argument that they have the worst trenches in the NFL right now. Name me one worse. Keep going. Name me one worse. Name me a team with a worse offensive line. Liam Eichenberg right now is your starter. And I hate to you got a second-year player who played 300 snaps. That was okay. And Patrick Paul out at their left tackle. You got a right tackle, Austin Jackson, who's coming back from an ACL injury. And then you've got a right guard in James Daniels, who I have a lot of respect for, have a high opinion of, come back from an Achilles injury. And then you got Austin Jackson. We don't even need an injury. It's just Austin Jackson. I mean, I'm sorry, Liam Eichenberg.
Yeah.
Liam Eichenberg.
Okay.
You don't even need an injury. It's just Liam Eichenberg. As your starting left guard, and yeah, you could go draft 2 offensive linemen and bank on. That's what good, healthy franchises do. And the hope is that those 2 pan out for you. Okay, let's put that over there. But then let's take a look at our defensive line. There's Zach Seler.
About it.
Oh,
we got Benito Jones.
Benito Jones here.
Who is the practice squad player that they?
Dickerson and Neil Farrell.
Yeah, Matt Dickerson and Neil.
Dickerson and Neil Farrell, 2 practice squad players. Hey, you never know what can happen. I mean, they've been on NFL teams before. Dickerson comes from the 49ers. Neil Farrell, I don't know where he came from, but he bounced around. But both of them bounced around collectively, what, 10 teams?
Yeah.
You know, but you can't be looking at that as like the final answer.
No.
We're probably about 3 veteran defensive linemen away, maybe even Emmanuel Ogbo away from having a solidified defensive line that's actually respectable. So I make the argument to you: worst trenches in the NFL. Worst. Yeah. Name me another team with a worse offensive line, worse defensive line.
I can't. I'm trying to think right now, and I'm not really coming up.
You go think a lot, long and hard, and come up empty. Because everybody had their opportunity to go get Liam Eichenberg, and that's it for you.
No one did.
Yeah, maybe Chicago, and you look at what they did, where they traded for and added major pieces from their offensive line. Dolphins are going to go young. They're going to go young, and they're going to draft in the trenches. And let's be realistic about that. That's a dangerous proposition. That's a dangerous place to be.
I agree.
From the standpoint, you don't know what you're going to get. You're going to this draft with a 13th pick. You need to address cornerback. You need to address your offensive line. You need to address your defensive line. That's really the things that you need to do. Safety, I think it could hold you down. Edge rushers, I think what you have could hold you down. Running back, you could benefit from another one, but what you have could hold you down.
Yeah.
But you tight end, you could benefit from something out there, but what you have will hold you down, I think, hopefully, maybe. Deep tight end draft, though. Very deep tight end draft.
Very, very.
But what you have at offensive line and in your defensive line, that can't hold you down for the season.
Yeah.
So you are going into a year banking on hitting home runs, on drafting at least 4 300-pounders. Do you think that that's a right and healthy recipe for this team heading into the draft 3 weeks from now?
No, not at all. I mean, just because, sure, you're supposed to build through the draft, right? They say, like, you build through the draft and free agents are really supposed to complement your team. But what happens when you don't get enough free agents to really complement your team? And now you're really – I think there's a strong balance in between that saying with building through the draft and relying too much on the draft. I think the Dolphins are going to be relying a little bit too much on the draft because for whatever reason they didn't get any, help on the D-line, specifically in the interior. And then the biggest, free agent signing on the offensive side of the ball in the trenches was James Daniels, right? And that's good, right? Again, the Achilles a little bit concerning. I mean, personally, I'm not the biggest fan of banking on guys to return to that elite level that first year, because it's usually the second year where they really find their footing, because that first year they gotta, it's still about working back that confidence, right? Getting that confidence back up, right? And so it's unfortunate that the Dolphins are in this position, but I mean, it is what it is. I know the Calais Campbell signing was a huge blow up until literally the day that it happened on Tuesday, right? We even amongst ourselves were saying, the media members were like, okay, like if they get Calais Campbell at the very least they can run it back, it'll be at least okay, right? But them not getting Calais back is just it's heartbreaking just because we know how big of a presence he was in that locker room just from the voice. Like he was like, if Calais said to do something, people are, it's like, okay, bet. Like, he says jump, they say how high, right? So just to lose that big voice, it's going to force the Zach Sealers to step up, right? And then outside of that, I mean, you look around, you think about the guys that have the productive seasons, like, the Jordyn Brooks, right? But Jordyn Brooks is more of a quiet guy, right? Just knowing the personalities. I mean, when he spoke, they did listen when he called him soft, but at the same time, you have to wonder if it's, I don't want to call him a natural leader. I'm just saying an unnatural leader. I'm just saying, like, you got to wonder if that's in his personality.
That's
right?
fair. That's a fair concern. I think he has the potential to be a leader.
Oh, 100%. I think he can. I mean, he definitely can back it up on the field, and I think that's what matters most. But now you got to wonder if it's in his personality. Same with Jalen Ramsey. From what we saw, like Jalen Ramsey is relatively quiet. I know he has his moments to like speak to the guys, but from what we saw, it's I don't like. I'm not questioning the leadership ability. I'm just questioning the vacuum that is left by Calais Campbell. Like guys will have to step up, right? And if Terron does really hang it up, again, it's gonna put more onus on that offensive line. Like who's gonna be the voice there? Who's gonna be the guy that obviously Tua is that the quarterback is always gonna be a leader of the team, but like outside of that, right? Who is gonna be that voice? Is it gonna be Tyreek Hill? Do you want it to be Tyreek Hill? Why are you laughing?
You know what? Let me say this about Tyreek because it's easy to pile on Tyreek right now because of the end of the year press conference, because of the consistent showings of immaturity. Tyreek needs to mature. That's now. But did Tyreek try to be a good leader last year? I think he did. We all know privately he was frustrated all season. When did it come out, though? Even after the Tennessee game where he showed frustration on the sidelines and then lied about it, he was covering up for the team and for his guys and the frustration. Like Waddle's frustrated all year as well. He didn't blow up. And I think we caught Tyreek in a very difficult spot where he wasn't emotionally prepared or ready to talk about what was going on. But now, does Tyreek need to work on his maturity? Absolutely. No question about it. But as I always say, you knew who he was when you proposed to him. You knew exactly who he was. There's a reason he was available in Kansas City, despite being the number one player or the most dynamic weapon in the NFL. He wanted to get paid, and he's a little bit of a headache to deal with. Tyreek likes attention a little bit too much. So if you're gonna get with the girl who dances on the table, just don't be mad. And I'm speaking to myself. I am speaking to myself. If you're gonna get with the girl who dances on the table, don't be mad when she seeks attention from others.
Yo, yeah, that's real. That's a millionaire. We gotta create a Omar Kelly book of sayings, and that's a good one. That might be first.
Life experiences teaches me lessons, man. Don't listen. Stay away from the ones that dance on the table. They might be attractive and they might be alluring, but they still like that attention. You know what I'm saying?
That's real.
Unfortunately, this is where you are, and you got to make it work. And realistically, Dolphin fans are like, trade Tyreek. I'm like, trade Tyreek for what?
Yeah, I think we should just take a moment to like address that, because like to me it's borderline nonsensical, just because you are objectively a better football team with him on the outside, whatever happens. Like it's bar none, right? Just the attention that he garners is enough to keep him on the team outside of the BS, right? And so for people to say, oh, let's trade him, first of all, name me one. There's probably one trade I can think of where you actually get back what you deserve for a star player, and that's not even in football. It was the Paul George for SGA trade that the OKC and the Clippers made a couple years ago, and now SGA is like one of the best players in the NBA, right? That is the only trade that comes to mind when you talk about swapping talent, like when you're trading away one star, hoping to get something back, right? It just doesn't happen.
The Marlins have done it quite a bit. To be honest with you, the
Marlins have done it, but they don't get anything back. That's the reason why the Marlins.
No. They generally it'll be years later you'll figure out Stanton was in that deal, or you understand what I'm saying?
I feel you. But I'm just maybe I need to start watching more baseball.
No, you don't. You don't. Yeah.
It's actually not bad. Like it's with the pitch count, it's quick. It's
I hear that. I really do hear that.
It's quicker. Like I've just quick aside, I went to a baseball game last year. I'm a little bit late. Get there, maybe 30, 40 minutes after the game starts. It's like the fifth inning. Before you get there, it's like the second inning when you do that. Nah, if you get to a baseball game late now, you might as well just stay at home. So, but I say all that to say, like, this team is better with Tyreek on it. You're not gonna get the equal value to it to trading him away. And then like, what do? Like we were talking about one of our homies, DJ from ESPN who covers the Texans. He's of the belief like, look, let's trade away Tyreek Hill. We can go draft somebody, get grabbing Isaiah Bond or a Matthew Golden in the draft. And it's like, okay, those guys are like, Isaiah Bond specifically is fast, right? But I don't want him. He's unproven.
Yeah.
Comparing to Tyreek Hill. Like, let's not.
Nobody ain't creating a game plan for Isaiah Bond.
Exactly.
Like,
Exactly.
Yeah, the Tyreek is going to keep opposing defensive coordinators up at night, game planning for you. He's going to draw extra attention. He's going to occupy too. And I agree with you. I don't want you. You don't want to see this offense without Tyreek. Not right now. And I while I know that there are issues right now with everybody getting along and everybody feeling each other and kumbaya. I don't even think Tyreek. I don't even think Tua wants to see this offense without Tyreek. They'll figure out a way to make it work. Now, will they be making it work for one season? And is this a healthy environment? Those are all things that we can continue to discuss and will continue to discuss as the offseason progresses. We got the draft. And then as Mike McDaniel continued to hint, there is always the third round of free agency. There are a number of guys still available out there who are going to be waiting for work after the draft. This is the norm. This is the protocol. I'll give you a perfect example. Jedrick Willis, from a starter from the Cleveland Browns, battling an injury. He's still out there. You got Asante Samuel battling a shoulder injury. He's still out there. He's not retiring. And that round of free agents, a lot of them not healthy. Isaiah Wynn is still out there. You tell me Isaiah Wynn can't come back here and be a starting left guard? Now, for 17 games, probably not, but he could probably get a good 10 games.
That rotation with him and Liam again, man. That joint was working for a little bit.
Don't be doing Liam like that. Like,
it was like both the guys.
They had one good game. Don't overstate. I can't remember what game it was. I don't even think it was. It was Cleveland too. They had two good games.
Yeah, it was Cleveland.
San Fran and Cleveland.
Look, man, and I thought they were gonna get killed by the Niners. I ain't gonna lie to you. I did. I chalked that one up as an L. But they won. I was surprised.
Juan kept it relevant. My biggest concern going into the season, and I said this, and I say it on the record, and I said this on the podcast. We have seen a mad exodus of leaders, from Raheem Mostert to Walker, Anthony Walker Jr. We have seen a mad exodus of leaders, and when Terron retires, if he retires, and then you get to Calais. That leadership, that's a massive void that either a lot of people are going to have to step up, or you're going to have to lean on a lot of young players to serve as leaders, or players who have not been in leadership position, like Jordyn Brooks, like Jalen Ramsey. Jalen Ramsey is a leader. It's just Jalen's, I hate saying Jalen's about Jalen, but you have to be a leader. There are multiple ways to lead. Jalen would have to become a more vocal leader.
He leads better, for sure.
And it's possible. It's possible. I remember Zach Seler, we were talking, and Zach was talking about how the greatest thing he's learning from Emmanuel Ogba too. The greatest thing he's learning from Calais is how to lead, when to speak up, what to say. And having those presences are significant and important. I remember covering the Dolphins team where Cam Wake was the leader, and Cam Wake was quiet as a church mouse. So leadership is so important and so critical. And I do think that the Dolphins, not only do they have to create a new foundation for their team in terms of young players that they can build around, but they also have to create a new foundation of leadership. So it'll be interesting to see what happens moving forward. We've got the NFL draft coming up. I know you've seen a ton of mock drafts. I want to leave on this note. I want you to give me the one player that you are praying is going to be there at 13 for the Miami Dolphins. And then I want you to give me your realistic feel for who you think the pick is going to be.
I'm praying that it's Will Johnson. Like I think, obviously, football, it's a handshake thing, right? Like the DBs aren't going to be playing well if they're not getting much of a pass rush, right? And I can understand the hate and the vitriol that'll be out there. It's like, oh my God, we need interior D linemen. Why would you go grab Will Johnson? But if you think about just the possibility of pairing Will Johnson with Jalen, and like, first of all, that's shut down. Like it's no fly zone, right? And then obviously you can shore up the D line later in the draft. And personally, like, I know we saw some mock drafts with Kenneth Grant going to the Dolphins. I'm personally of the belief I like Walter Nolan. He's a little bit undersized, but who else was a little bit undersized? And I'm not trying to compare them. Aaron Donald. But Aaron Donald was undersized.
Yes, he was, but that's a hell of a comparison.
I just said, what were the words that came out of my mouth?
I'm not trying to compare them.
I'm just saying that, like, size is not the end all be all at the defensive tackle position, especially if you're quick. If you're quick, you can get around guys and are strong, which Aaron Donald was. You can do that. And what I saw from Walter Nolan at the Senior Bowl, and then going back watching some of his tape, I like what I have. Now there's some issue. There's some. Oh no, that's Shamar Turner. That's the one who had the character concerns. But I'm just saying, like, look, man, like I'm a fan of Walter Nolan. I don't think you reach one of my 13. I want Will Johnson to be there. Now the realistic guy that I think they'll draft. I mean, honestly, probably, like, and this is just from seeing all the mock drafts and all the stuff. It's probably gonna be either Kelvin Banks Jr. or Tyler Booker. Like, they're gonna, and I hope that that's not where they go. I mean, Tyler Booker is, he looks like a man amongst boys out there at times, right? I'm concerned about Kelvin Banks Jr. because he hasn't played guard before in his life. I know Laramie Tunsil. That's the first thing people said. Oh, well, Laramie Tunsil made the switch. I hear you, but I prefer a guy that has played the position that I'm drafting him for at 13.
They do not draft guys that have played the position. Sorry.
Well,
that's and it's funny that you say that, because I am sold on Tyler Booker from Alabama, and he is not their typical guard. But if you follow me, if you look at outside of Tua's injury history, I think the number one problem this Dolphins team have is they can't convert short yardage plays. I promise you can convert short yardage plays running behind Tyler Booker. He moves people, and I love that about him. He does not fit their mold of what they want. They want more athletes. I looked at the comparison between him and some of the elite guards in the NFL. Indianapolis Colts guard, I can't remember his name, but he was the last guard. He was the last guard that really was drafted super early and was elite. I'll tell you the name in a second.
Nelson.
Yeah, Quentin Nelson. Quentin Nelson and Zach Martin, their numbers from a metric standpoint, far drastically superior to Tyler Booker. And then Tyler Booker, I gotta admit, once I found out he only did 21 reps of 225, and that's not the end all be all. But when you look at Quentin Nelson did 35. Yeah, that's a Zach Martin. I didn't look up what he did, but I think 13 is a little rich. However, that is my ideal pick for the Miami Dolphins. And just like you, I'm gonna say if Will Johnson is there, despite all his injury history, it's a home run. It's a home run for Miami.
That's how many Zach Martin did. 29.
Huh? 29? Okay. 29 is still not 21. But I will throw out one more name. Texas cornerback Jahay Barron.
Okay.
I don't know if I said his first name properly. Jaday Barron. I looked at him. I am not into drafting a safety at 13. And I know a lot of people are projecting him to be a nickel in the NFL. I definitely see an outside boundary starting cornerback in the NFL. So,
you're gonna draft him. You said he's a safety. Is he a corner?
No, he's a cornerback. Yeah.
Okay.
I think he's a realistic possibility at 13. If you look at Chris Greer's history, Chris Greer drafts premium positions early in the draft. A guard is definitely not a premium position. That means it's offensive tackles, it's wide receivers, it's cornerbacks, and it's pass rushers. And I think it's going to be that or Texas A&M's is Shamar Stewart. I just have a feeling about Shamar Stewart that he can be the edge player on this defensive line. And truthfully speaking, we are putting a lot of onus, respect, and responsibility on Anthony Walker because he's going to be the one that's identifying what he wants from a defensive line standpoint. The man has coached the defensive line in the NFL. He's played the defensive line in the NFL. So in Anthony Walker, let's say we trust. So we'll see how this pans out moving forward. On that note, Dolphins in Depth, we will be back next week where we'll get into a little bit more of draft talk and possibly the latest on the Miami Dolphins Pro Bowl offensive tackle. We shall see if he has made a decision by next week. On that note, we are out and see you next week.